Hey everyone, you might be coming in here from Nick's previous session, and we'll just wait just about a minute or so that you can all fill into the room, and then David, our CEO, will get started. All right, I think the room is pretty much full. So, David, thank you so much for joining us. And he's going to be giving, he's our CEO and founder of Devolutions, and he's going to be giving a presentation on Remote Desktop Manager and what it can do for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and mic. And then at the end, if there's anybody that wants to turn on their camera, I'll pop you in the bottom and we'll share your camera, all right?
Thank you very much, Jan. It's a pleasure for me to be with you. I'm the founder of Devolution and the original creator of Remote Desktop Manager. I'm pretty sure that you know a lot about Remote Desktop Manager, and I will try to give you a small evolution of the products, where we were, where we are going, and I hope you will enjoy. I will do also some quick demos. Most of you must know a little bit everything, but you could learn something useful. And at the end, I will have the time for a few questions. You can send me an email. I'm always on the forum if you want to do a public request, or my personal email is really easy to find. So it would be a pleasure for me to answer you. So I hope you enjoy Nick's presentation. And thank you very much for being a part of the Devolutions family. So let's start with Remote Desktop Manager. So everything started as a tool in 2010. I developed Remote Desktop Manager for my personal needs. At that time, I wanted to access my my machine. To be honest, it was a little bit before 2010. At the beginning, I had to access different machines to test. I think it was IE6 and IE7. So we had a lab. So I used my knowledge in development to create a small product, which was a tool to access different machines. And that was the main goal. But this product has evolved and become a real product in 2013. And after that, it became a solutions, and now it's a platform. That's what we will explore with my presentation. Let's start with the original Remote Desktop version 1. You can see that it was for Windows XP. I found the original print screen of Remote Desktop, and at that time it was not really Devolutions like you know. It was me as a programmer, as a consultant. And after that, you can see Remote Desktop 8. I think that the first original commercial version of Remote Desktop was 5.5. And like Max mentioned, Brender was our first paying customer. And I'm really glad to have you on board with us, Brenders. I think you've been a really great helpers during the original development phase of Remote Desktop Manager. So it started as a tool, like I mentioned, really to access my machine. The original features, the first feature for the enterprise version was, it's funny because it was more related to email support. So it was not very different between the free and the enterprise, but as we progress, we get into more and more interesting features for the teams. So it was really for the single user at the beginning, and it was all about productivity. It's funny because Nick was mentioning that IT and cybersecurity are not easy to be compatible because they don't have the same goal, and that's true. Remote Desktop Manager was originally a productivity tools with, I would say, not a great security, but it was better than nothing because we were able to centralize passwords, which was already better than a post-it. So the idea was to make sure that you can access your different machines really quickly. And with this idea, we decided to create something more agnostic of the protocols. So you were able to do RDP, SSH, integrating PuTTY. It was the beginning of something. So let's start with my first demo, if you don't mind, which will be Remote Desktop Manager free. Because at that time, what we were selling, that's something that now you have in the free edition. So if you are a single user, it's really easy to use Remote Desktop Manager only for yourself. But the interesting part is to make sure that you are able to centralize everything. So for my example, I will create a small RDP. I'm pretty sure that everybody has done that once. And I will just access my machine, configure it, type my username and password. We have a few employees that might never have seen that, so it's a good demo with a really popular password. Like I mentioned, security was not an option. So opening a connection in a tab was the main purpose of Remote Desktop Manager. But the idea is also to centralize your connection. So now with the tools, and you can exit, wait a second, and do some refactoring that I will call to extract the credential. In this case, I will create a new credential entry from my original entry. And you will be able to see that now I'm linking to my created entry. This is available in the free edition, which was not the case. So the idea of the free edition is to make sure to offer anything you need as a IT works alone. But it's not perfect if you want to work as a team. So the product has to evolve to the next step, which is I'm sure you know, work as a team. So the tools become a product with the user management feature, the user specific setting, the user vaults feature, and the templates. So what I want you to retain it's make sure that you start by using Remote Desktop Manager free, but as soon as you need to go further and want to share it with your teams, it's important to start to use the Enterprise Edition. So we offer in the free edition everything you have in the old product, Remote Desktop Connection Manager from Microsoft, and even more. The kind of stuff that we added was like, the small thumbnails that you can view. So there is no reason to not use Remote Desktop Manager if you're alone. But if you have a team, you need to create the Enterprise Edition. You need to create a database with the Enterprise Edition, which is the next step of my demo, which will be more related to what you can do with Remote Desktop Manager. And I know that you might know everything, but I hope you will learn few things. It's really, really powerful what you could do with Remote Desktop Manager teams. And for example, I want to give you the example of the user management. That's something that you can do. You can create users. You can assign permission. The easiest way to assign permission in Remote Desktop Manager Enterprise is with the edit and the permission. That's something that we added a few versions ago. So if I want to grant access, I can just double click here, specify the user that I want to give access, and specify which access I want to give. So it's much easier than it was before when you had to browse everything. So what we try to do with the product and why this has evolved to a solutions, which is my next step, it has to be all about security without compromising productivity, which most of the time is the challenge, is how do you get the productivity at the same time then you get the security. So for us, it's a challenge because it's more complicated to continue to offer you a simplify and a streamlined solutions, but that's what we try to do with Remote Desktop Manager. So the next step for us is to evolve to a platform, which which we will see is the next step, is how do we integrate all the different features from Remote Desktop Manager. So now you know that you can centralize everything, but you can choose which data source that you want. And the new trend is the enterprise password management. So do we do enterprise password management at Devolutions? We do a lot, but it's complicated because we started as a remote access solution, but it's more than that since we centralize all the passwords. So we have Remote Desktop Manager that could be used with SQL Server, which is okay, but it's a good productivity tool. But if you want a next step, you need to have policies. So for that, you will need Devolution Server or Devolution Password Hub. You will be able to have a demo later this day to see what you could do and how you can leverage. But the thing that we change during the last few months is to make sure that as an IT guys, everything starts with Remote Desktop Manager. So it's important to understand that we understand you and your challenge, and we want you to install Remote Desktop Manager and the other products for the rest of your teams. So for a simplified solution in Password Manager, you might choose Password Hub, but you will be able to access Password Hub with Remote Desktop Manager, which was not the case at the beginning. You will have a demo of that later today. So for us, if I continue my presentation as a solutions, as a platform, it's important to understand all the link between the different piece of the puzzle. So you have the remote access with Bastion, you have the privileged access with Devolution Server, which is the next step. So I will do a small demo, if you don't mind, with Putty. Just give me a few seconds. And I will leave you a few minutes to ask me some deep questions, because I know that it might not be that interesting at this point. So everybody see my computer. So the integration that we do, it's very simple. I will create a new entry, an RDP entry, which will be remote desktop blank. Wait, I have to move. Again, I will paste my lab, and now I want to do a link with Putty. So I will create a new entry, a credential entry this time. You see that we support a lot. We support a lot of entry types. CyberArk. It could be a secret server. So when we're talking about a solution and a platform, it's the idea of the co-petition. Now the challenge that we don't want to pick a solution that can do everything. We pick pieces of everything. We might buy something from SolarWinds. We might buy something from TeamViewer. We might buy something from Keeper for your password management. So Remote Desktop Manager is able to centralize and make that work all together. So that's why I'm talking about co-petition now, which is related to work with everybody and be friends at the same time that you are enemy with everybody. That's the case with Apple and Microsoft. Microsoft, they do something for Apple at the same time that they are competing. That's what we do. That's why sometimes it's confusing, because with Remote Desktop Manager, we are seems to integrate everything at the same time that we offer the same solution. In this case, I will continue my example with KeePass. So I will open a KeePass entry. I will pick my current database. I will pick one entry from my Keeper. You see, I have the benefit of the encryption of Keeper to unlock my Keeper solutions, and I will pick my credential from Keeper. With that, you see, I have an entry. I will link my computer to credential entry, which in this case will be my new KeePass entry. Sorry, I'm saying keeper, but it's KeyPass. And with that, I will open my connection. Oops, sorry, I've picked the wrong one. It's this one. Keeper, KeyPass. So it's pretty easy to bridge your own credential manager or your own password manager. So if I go back to my slide about the enterprise password management, we do enterprise password management and we do it well. And we are evolving in more on the cybersecurity side. But we keep in mind that our product are targeting IT people. We need productivity. You know that MSP times is money, so it's important to us to make sure that you keep the productivity, and the tools that you like with Remote Desktop Manager is really, really powerful. I have one quick tips that I can give you. Also, at the same time, if you want to have some restriction, you have the events. In the before open, you can run PowerShell script. In my example, this is more a power user example, but I think it's something that you could like, is I will execute a small script where I will set the date right here, and I will change the connection that I'm currently opening. You see, it's the Sing RDM to access the current connection with the date. And with that, you will see that when I will open the connection, I will get the hours when I open the connection. The idea is to do some advanced features. For example, you could call a DNS or a server to get to resolve or to ping. If you are unable to reach the server, you will change the password or the domain of the machine. So that's the kind of stuff that you can do with Remote Desktop Manager. And that's why people are using Remote Desktop Manager with CyberArk and Secret Server, even though that they already have a launcher of their own. So the idea is to make sure that you get all the benefits of our different integration into your own environment. That's the goal, and that's why our mojo is control the IT chaos, because we know that it's a nightmare to integrate everything. So that's why I was talking about the evolution of the platform for Remote Desktop Manager. We have everything everywhere. We have Remote Desktop Manager for Windows, for Mac OS, for Chrome OS, for iOS, for Android, and also for Linux. So we work with all the different environments for you to make sure that you have a seamless integration, and that's how we do the solution, and that's why we're talking about the platform. So we have a few times for a question, and you can ask a deep question if you want, because I know that I just scratched the tip of the surface of the benefits of Remote Desktop Manager.
All right. Thanks, David, for your presentation. Now, if some of you want to ask a question directly, I'm going to moderate the panel on the bottom. So if you want to click share audio and video, I'm going to go ahead and share your camera. Now, there was a guy named Nick Van Haren. Nick, did you want to ask a question? Because I'll go ahead and give you permission here if you're ready. And then there was also Jos Muwison. Sorry about the names there, but we'll go ahead and share that. So, Nick, I'm going to give you permission here if you are ready. And if not, you are more than welcome to share your camera and ask a question live to the man himself. Now, also in the chat, I noticed that Marc-André has been, and Maurice as well, have been answering questions left and right, specific, very technical things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys share your cameras there. If anybody wants to join in, I'll moderate it on the bottom. But right now, Maurice and Marc-André are doing a great job with all the technical things.
Okay, but if you can ask me a question, it will be a pleasure to answer, because I'm much better to answer questions than do a presentation. So if you have a question, just a question about why this features sucks in RDM, it would be a pleasure for me to explain you where we come from, and because I have an explanation of why sometimes something is broken. It's been a long journey in Remote Desktop Manager, and we are improving a lot everywhere, and want to make sure that you understand that.
Okay, so there was one question in the chat. It said that I think people would like to know a little bit more about the synchronizers and PowerShell automation just from the questions that have been asked. So how do we handle that, and what were some good suggestions or tips that you can give?
Okay, yes, it's a good. Some people might not know what is the synchronizer. So it's an interesting features. We know we will have. Okay, it's not a promise, but we want to do next year in 2021 a new, I will call that a new OS, which will be Powershell Core. So it will be a complete rewrite of our module of Remote Desktop Manager to make sure that it starts from scratch with the share core that we have on the different platform. And it will be done to make sure that you are able to edit and have a kind of a headless integration of Remote Desktop Manager. At the beginning, we might just support few data source types like SQL Server and maybe a password server, and I will say Hub at the same time, because it will be related to the enterprise data source that we have. So that's a huge project. It's not that, it's near the size of the Linux version that we just did. It was something really tough to do, because we had to do a complete work from scratch, which is not easy on Linux because of the UI, which is not the case for PowerShell, but it's a complete rewrite of everything with the core. This is for the PowerShell module, which I know that we get a lot of requests for that. For now, you can use the PowerShell module of Remote Desktop Manager on Windows, but the next one will be cross-platform, which is good. So let's go back to the synchronizers. Synchronizers, for those who don't know, it's a way to execute a process. For now, it has to open a Remote Desktop Manager to execute the process, to add or remove entries from your data source. Which is interesting is that you can synchronize VMware, you can synchronize your machine from Active Directory, from ConnectWise, or just from a CSV. Some people are pushing a CSV file from their systems, and RDM will generate the entries in the data source. That's something that eventually we want to do on a Devolution server as a background process, but it's not done yet. So I don't know if you have a specific question related to that. If it's really deep in terms of the synchronizer, that's something that we could go with a chat or with an email if you have a specific request. But it's weird, but RDM is able to do everything. But sometimes it's just not clear how to do that, and doing a better documentation is not helpful because we have so many features. It's driven by your requests. But what we try to do, we try to polish the software at every version, and now we have a team for the cybersecurity. So you will have some challenge eventually, because we will deprecate some unsecure protocols and stuff like that. We try to keep the compatibility, because we know that you have some legacy service, and it's important to keep that in mind when we do the development. But we want to make sure that now you have a really good cybersecurity product, not just a productivity product.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there was any more specific questions on that, on the synchronizer issue. Maurice and Marc-André are exploding the chat right now, which is great. So they're answering all the technical things. So I'm trying to see here in the chat if there's anything else. Let's see. Joalant said, not able to have Windows 10 VM auto reconnect. It gets disconnected if not in use for some times, and then have to click again the entry from a tab and click on connect.
So it seems that I think you could verify the policy for the idle in this case. I know it's funny because people are asking for feature in remote desktop manager to bypass the policies from their company. For example, sometimes they have a message to acknowledge, and sometimes they have the idle timeout, and it's always tricky to be able to bypass those policies. Sometimes we are able because we understand, and I think it's important to use correctly remote desktop manager in this case, and know that you might get in trouble, but if you're aware of that, or if it's something that it's hard coded, that's okay for you.
Just a comment, Ben Leibowitz and Ron, they both said, thank you for creating RDM. It's helped me save me so much time in my career. I actually misread it. I thought he said help me save my career, but he said so much time, and Ron seconds that. I know they said thank you for that. Another question, Marcus Schnitzel said, does RDM already can lock on RDP disconnect?
I'm not sure I'm not sure what you mean. You want to lock RDM when the RDP connection disconnect? Lock the OS on disconnect? No, it's a limitation in. No, it's a limitation. I think that we are able to trick. I don't understand why Microsoft added the special command for the charm, but did nothing for log off or for lock screen. I think we are stuck with the RDP protocol for this specific case. I know that my session will end soon, and I just want to let you know that I'm still developing a lot in Remote Desktop Manager. So I know that usually CEOs get off the development work, but I'm still involved a lot in Remote Desktop Manager and the other product. So you can send me your request by email, and if I don't have the answer, I will make sure that you get it from our teams. We have a really good teams of support, and they will try to help you.
Thank you so much, David, again, and we'll talk to everyone again later. So see you in the next session, Taps. All right, bye.